Hello again. I had a lot of fun making the last video, so I thought I'd make another. I'm going to make pulled pork for like the first time in my life. First things first, I got some pork on sale. Everyone loves cheap meat. I have two pieces of this, but I'm just going to film this one for now. It is, let me just check the label again. It is pork shoulder picnic roast. So this is enough for one picnic. As you can see, it has the bone, which is fine, actually. I'm curious to see how it'll work out. But it also has some of the skin, which I am going to remove first. So I've gone ahead and removed the skin. I didn't film that because A, like, I'm not super good at it, and B, I don't yet have like the little attachment to, just stick my cell phone onto my forehead while I do things. I don't have that kind of money yet, but who knows? Maybe I'll get like a pork sponsorship. I'm going to go ahead and do the other one now. Alright, so as you can see, I've removed the skin and I've put it in a Ziploc freezer bag because apparently you can do stuff with the skin, and I don't know, that sounds like fun. I'll look that up later. So I just trimmed off the skin. I didn't remove any fat or the bones because that'll be much easier to remove after the cooking is done. It's going to cook low and slow in the slow cooker, so the fat will have liquefied by then. The bones will probably, if I do this right, well, they should, if I do this right, just come right out at the end of the cooking. And I presume that they'll just flavor the meat as it cooks, so I'd rather leave them on and figure it out afterwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a really quick pat down with some paper towel. They're not really wet, but, it's probably a good idea. And I have a basic rub here of salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and just a few other things. This is probably not enough really seasoning for all of this, but the recipe I'm following doesn't even include this step. So this is just a little something extra to kind of maybe add a little extra flavor. We'll see if it actually pans out. All right, so I've put seasoning on both sides, got a little on the corners as well, kind of patted it in there. Again, not nearly enough if you were, let's say, going to smoke this. This is, like I said, going to a slow cooker with some liquid. So this is really, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this in the fridge overnight. Just give it a little chance to permeate the meat. I'm hoping that'll just be subtle but still noticeable. But if not, I doubt I really screwed it up. I mean, who knows? Let's not spoil the ending of this video. So I'm going to put this in the fridge overnight so I can slow cook it tomorrow. And of course, every time I've been touching the pork, I would then wash my hands after. And once this is all said and done for the evening, I will then be washing and disinfecting both the work surface and obviously the knife, the cutting board, etc. Don't want to get anybody sick, especially me, because I'm my favorite sometimes.
By the way, before I forget, you can use pretty much any rub you want. You'll notice I didn't put any sugar in mine, and the sauce that I'm making for the slow cooker isn't going to be very sweet either. I'm kind of keeping everything kind of sugar-free so I can choose which sweeteners I choose to use in the slow cooker. That'll be a little more, I think, a little better explained once I start cooking. Okay, bye from the fridge.
Good morning, y'all. So it's the next day. What I've gone ahead and done, even though this isn't in the recipe, is I've gone ahead and chopped up some onions. It's not a lot. I small onions that I had and left over, and I was chopping them and I started crying, and so then I stopped. Don't worry, the crying had nothing to do with the onions. Then some garlic. There's about 5 or 6 small cloves. This is not necessary, but I cut up the meat for 2 reasons. One, I'm going to attempt to brown it, and the more surface area, the more I can brown. And B, I had a bit of concern that it might not fit in super comfortably in the slow cooker, so I took an extra precaution. Not necessary, but it's up to you. In retrospect, if it might have been better to cut it up yesterday and then get it seasoned those newly cut sides. But again, the seasoning is really more of an afterthought. It's not going to be the main thing. So I'm going to get started on browning now. Browning in batches because you don't want to crowd the pan. Otherwise, you'll get more steam than browning. Yes. Smells good so far, though. So obviously, we're not going to be able to finish cooking the pan. Sorry for the delicious sounds, by the way. What we're doing is getting some browning. I could go maybe a bit deeper, but since this is going to cook 8 to 10 hours, and I'd really like to have it for dinner tonight, I'm just getting a bit of a sear on each side. If possible, you want to get some of the sides too. Since these are a bit strangely shaped, it's a little tough, so you might need to hold them with your tongs, or put them up against each other. Again, not necessary, but I think I'm gonna like the final effect. All right, I've browned the meat, and as expected, yeah, it's having a little trouble fitting, but it's gonna be fine. It's gonna shrink and soften as it cooks, so I'll just have to rearrange it in a few hours. In the meantime, I am cooking the onions really quickly in the pan to kind of get that fond, and I'm going to then saute the garlic really quickly too once these are almost done. All right, I went ahead and added the garlic, sauteed that for 30 seconds, forgot to film it, sorry. And then I put in a little bit of water to help deglaze the pan further. I'm going to just bring that up to a simmer and just continue scraping until I got all the fond. In the meanwhile, I'm just going to rush ahead and just show you what else I'm going to add. So in the slow cooker, I'm going to add this entire bottle of barbecue sauce. You can use any barbecue sauce you want. Same thing with an entire bottle or can of root beer. These two I chose because I've used them in the past. They're pretty good, and this one's no sugar added, tastes pretty good. This one's cane sugar, so it's got a pretty... I don't even really like root beer that much, but I know it works really well here. So I really wanted to control how much and what kind of sugar as much as possible. You can still add more if you want, but yeah, so I'm going to dump these two into the slow cooker with the meat, set it on low for 8 to 10 hours, all alongside the garlic and onions, obviously. And then we'll see... I'll probably check in a bit soon just to show you how it goes, maybe in a few hours. I felt bad not showing what it looks like at the beginning. So I just literally dumped everything in 2 minutes ago. Just started it. It's steaming because of the onions. So yeah. So it's fine if it peeks out, honestly. It's a braise, not a boil. In fact, maybe the other pieces should peek out. I might arrange that. But yeah. So in about 8 to 10 hours, this should be done. But I'll try to give you an update in, I don't know, once every couple hours. Because you deserve it. You both do. Hello again. All right. It's been about 2.5 hours or so, so we're just going to take a little sneak peek. Yeah, it already looks good. So I'm going to move it around just because I want to make sure some parts are, getting, rotating. It probably not necessary, but also I want to touch it. I don't know if you can tell, it's a little shinier because a lot of the fat has already kind of melted and started going to the top, which is a good sign it's cooking. It's also really hot, so it's definitely cooking. All right. So here we are at the 4.5 hour mark, so about halfway. I just kind of moved the meat around again. As you can see, I really want steam. As you can see a little, probably, well, now you can. That bone is starting to kind of the meat feels definitely much more tender, not fork tender yet, but definitely softer. And that bone is starting to stick out. So we're definitely on the right track. And it unsurprisingly smells fucking amazing. So yeah, so far so good. And this is about 8.5 hours later. Oh man. Yeah, it's falling apart already. So, oh man, it smells so good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this ancient device of war to skim out all the solids. And what I'd like to do is shred the meat. And while I'm doing that, I'll turn the slow cooker from low to high to try and reduce the sauce a bit more because I'd like it to be a little thicker. Actually, I'll see how it is, but I probably am going to want it a bit thicker. Yeah. So I got out as much of the meat and solids as I could. I now have the slow cooker on high. I tasted some of the meat on its own, and I tasted some of the broth on its own. And it's all crazy delicious. I'm really happy. So now I'm going to remove the bones and get to shredding. All right. Sorry again I couldn't film it. Again, I need to find a way to tape the phone to my face or maybe get like a tripod or something. Anyway, I've shredded the pork really fine, removed the bones. I left as much fat as I could. Some fat didn't fully melt, but some of it was shreddable. Some of it was still kind of solid, so I totally threw that out and didn't eat it. But yeah, the 2-fork method. Got the slow cooker on high. I'm going to wait for it to reduce a bit, then add some of it to the pork because that's going to be what gives it a lot of moisture and extra flavor, and keep some of it on the side for it's delicious porky barbecue sauce. Honestly, drink it. I might. I won't, but I might. I could. Oh, sorry. Speaking of the sauce, I'm leaving it uncovered so that it reduces. It's faster without the lid if you want to evaporate some liquid. Yeah. All right. It reduced a bit, but there wasn't even that much liquid, and I'm really hungry, so I just re-added the meat. I'm gonna heat it up really quick, and I've also decided to cut. I think in thirds, yeah. And this is bigger than I thought it would be. I'm going to cut this in thirds, toast it up, and I'm just going to serve it plain as is for now because I'd like to really get a full feel for what this tastes like. Lightly toasted under the broiler. Oh yeah. I'm turning off the camera now.